Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television. My name is Stella Iyaji. My co-anchor Ibrahim will be joining us shortly as I'm not doing this alone. As usual, we have a lot packaged for you. For now, let's take a look at the headlines. Insecurity, Buhari may not escape being kidnapped. This is coming from Buba Galadima. Bandits re-abduct wife of Fulani leader in Abuja. Transporters increase fare over economic crisis. Now let's take a look at the details of the stories. The former ally of President Muhammadu Buhari, Buba Galadima, has said that with the lingering insecurity in the country, he won't be surprised if the number one citizen is kidnapped. Galadima was reacting to the insecurity bedeviling the country in an interview with BBC Hausa Service. Galadima added that if terrorists can have access to break Kuje prison, Buhari himself is not safe. According to him, the only option available now is for Nigerians to continue praying or arm themselves for protection. He said if the citizens depend on this government, definitely they will be killed. Now, Mrs. Habiba Adamu, wife of the Ardom Fulani of Kwali Area Council of Abuja, Alhaji Adamu Garba Ardo, has been re-abducted. The woman who was abducted in February but rescued by some vigilantes was kidnapped alongside 3 of her children on Monday night. The senior wife of the Ardom Fulani, Mrs. Khadijat Adamu, confirmed the kidnap to a reporter on Tuesday. She said bandits invaded Anwar Tudun Fulani at Yangoji village in Kwali Area Council of Abuja around 12 a.m. She said the bandits gained access into the house through the kitchen back door, adding that she was initially abducted but released when the bandits realized she could not walk because of old age. The 3 children were identified as Hafsat, Fatima, and Abubakar. Also, private transport owners have announced a 25% increase in fares for commercial trips on interstate routes. In a memo issued on Tuesday, the Association of Private Transport Company Owners of Nigeria asked its members to effect the increase from August 25, 2022. The development comes after Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria announced that the price of bread is expected to rise by 20% over the increase in price of raw materials occasioned by the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The transporters said, owing to the prevalent harsh economic situation, as well as the recently announced increase in petrol pump price across the country, the board of APTCON, in collaboration with its member companies, deliberated and unanimously agreed that a marginal increase in interstate transportation fares is inevitable. Now let's take a look at some packages. Following the federal government's shutdown order, schools within the Federal Capital Territory are preparing to halt academic activities despite the ongoing National Examination Council NECO tests for senior secondary schools as well as terminal examinations by other students. Let's take a look at the report.
Insecurity in Nigeria has been the major challenge for almost all sectors in the country, with education not spared. With the order affecting both public and private secondary schools, education in FCT will be brought to total halt as Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU has been on strike for over 5 months. This follows intelligent report of threat to some schools within FCT and the attack in Buari area of the Federal Capital Territory. A visit to some schools within FCT revealed that students who ought to be writing NECO were in school but not participating in the exams, while principal officers declined comment. At the junior secondary school Wuse Zone 3, the principal, Olukemi Adebimpe, agreed that the safety of lives comes before education, hence the need to hold academic activities.
The security of the children is more important than what we are is more important, and that is why the federal government said that all schools should close latest Wednesday 27th July. By next week Wednesday, we are supposed to close for the session. So this few days, about let me say about 5 days, it's only 5 days now that we are missing. If we close tomorrow Wednesday, we are having Thursday, Friday, then Wednesday next week we are supposed to close for the session. So that 5 days cannot affect the school calendar. So everything will be okay, whatever and I don't think there's not going to be any adverse effect on the learners, because already we have finished our syllabus, we have finished it's just for them to write exam, and which the only thing is the stress on the students, because we have to increase the number of subjects they write daily.
While these schools take a break over insecurity, one question that Nigeria are asking is what will government do differently to change the security situation before the students resume to school? Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Musa, for that report. Now, Ibrahim, welcome to the show. You almost abandoned me this morning.
I almost did, Stella. Apologies for that.
And I'm very happy to have you here right now.
It's great to be here, as always.
All right.
It's really great to be here.
Okay. Let's move on to the next package. Ahead of the Sunday, 31st July deadline for the continuous voter registration exercise across the country, prospective registrants are lamenting shortage of personnel and machines, among other anomalies at registration centers within the Federal Capital Territory. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu, who visited some newly created centers in the FCT, reports that registrants fear that they may not be captured before the suspension of the CVR exercise, as more people try to use the last few days to get registered. The report.
The last-minute rush that comes with the news of suspension of the CVR exercise has also come with a surge that is almost overwhelming for INEC officials and security operatives. Prospective registrants complain of unfair treatment by officials and worry that this may end with the unfortunate news of them not being able to be captured within the last few days.
Look at the whole population, the population of more than 200 people. You can see only 2 laptops. It's one person is doing registration, the other person is doing capturing. And the person is not even sitting down on his chair. He will be stuck sitting, go and buy granite outside, go and sit down, go and make up. They are not serious.
Okay. I've been here for 1 week trying to struggle to register. I told you this thing. Most people have been here since 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. They haven't done theirs. I said it's based on familiarity now.
To address some of the challenges, the INEC FCT Resident Electoral Commissioner Yahya Bello at an earlier press conference had noted that since the initial extension of the deadline, the Commission had created more centers, mobilized more machines and personnel.
He approved, extra personnel to man these machines, and also approved that we open so many other centers so that it will ease the congestion.
But to these registrants, the situation remains the same.
We'll be there since so some people just come in with their convoy, they'll let them in. And we don't know how it's happening. Okay, they say they want to start with the list. We wrote our names. Okay, let's do it orderliness. Before you know, they'll open the gate for people with convoy, they'll go in. And the rest, you see them start voting, they're out. They'll start doing their voters card for them, they're out. Registration center close to our area, we have been there and they are not more working there. And people that have been going there, they say the crowd is too much and the machines are few. Okay, look at us now that we are here. How can one person be attending to 500 people?
We, since morning, some people left their work, left everything. Just have to sacrifice a day. My own is not even a day, 1 week. Kubwa, no. Duse, no. Central area, they have to divert that waiting now. Even the fuel itself, they increase it, but yet we are still blowing left and right.
The CVR exercise, in spite of the many challenges, continues till its suspension on the 31st of July 2022. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And moving on to party politics now, the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, is urging law enforcement agencies to investigate and prosecute financial crimes perpetrated during the just concluded party primaries across the country. Now, the Katsina State NNPP chairman, Sani Mkwani, says the two largest political parties in the country are both guilty of compromising the electoral process. Abdullahi Yamadi has details.
The NNPP leadership is calling for the cancellation of both the APC and PDP national conventions and the disqualification of all candidates who participated in the process.
Because that people get at the center, they are the one who control military, armed forces in general. They are the one who are supposed to apply law to control the situation. Mr. President is responsible for all this. He is the chief law enforcement officer. He is supposed to protect our laws and our constitution. He is supposed to act in accordance with the rules and regulations.
The police, DSS and the EFCC is also being urged to go beyond this to arrest and prosecute delegates and all those who organized the party primaries in Nigeria. This, the NNPP argues, is because the corruption that attended the process and outcome of the conventions have violated Section 6 of the EFCC law.
That is why we are saying he failed, he should resign. Because in the presence of his people, the EFCC, ICPC, and all other relevant agencies responsible for crimes control and prevention, these things happened in their presence, and as if nothing happened.
Also violated by all the aspirants were Part V, Section 88, 89, and 94 of the Electoral Act. The NNPP is worried by the way the process was bluntly undermined and its impact on the future of Nigeria's democracy, the constitution, and the electoral laws.
The federal government was asked to declare state of emergency. So it was federal government that was asked to declare state of emergency on the mentioned state or in the mentioned states. But for now, it is a federal level. And as a main opposition party, like he indicated, it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to do it. And like he said, we are going to make the state a better state.
It is disheartening that the raw display of opulence coincides with a critical moment of insecurity, hunger, and abject poverty. The NNPP is disturbed that the political actors are daily mortgaging the country in the face of closure of tertiary institutions for months, while critical government functions have been relegated to the background. The NNPP is also therefore calling on some state assemblies in the northwestern Nigeria to start impeachment processes to remove governors who failed to secure the lives and property of their citizens. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
All right, thank you, Yamadi, for that report. From politics now to security issues. The police in Gombe State has intercepted over 500 cattle suspected to have been stolen by a caravan of suspected rustlers. The animals, which include 483 cows, 186 sheep and ram, and 3 donkeys, were believed to have been taken from Plateau, Bauchi, and Taraba states. Ibrahim Ismail brings us this report.
18 suspects are being held after being apprehended with these animals, while an unspecified number of the rustlers have fled with motorcycles. The cattle originating from Plateau, Bauchi, and Taraba State were intercepted by the police based on intelligence that some stolen cows were en route to the state.
Based on the credible intelligence that suspected cattle rustler have rusted over 500 cows from Plateau, Bauchi, and Taraba State in large numbers and heading towards Gombe through Bauchi axis. Police tactical teams, in collaboration with vigilante group and local hunters, mobilized and trailed the rustler where they were intercepted around Kalmai Junction in Biliri, local government of Gombe State.
Gombe State authorities are profiling prospective owners of the animals in collaboration with governments of Plateau, Bauchi, and Taraba State. At the community level, the Wakilin Fulani in Tangale, Yaya Abba, is giving assurances that the process of identifying real owners of stolen cows has commenced.
No, the state government will not relent its effort in ensuring that after proper profiling of the owners of these cows, their cows has been released to them. But then that could be after profiling, because we don't want to have a kind of a mix-up.
Nobody, no criminal will have it easy in Gombe State, no matter who you are. The government is not going to sit down and watch you come and bring down breakdown of law and order in Gombe State. No. From the local government to the top, everybody knows that there must be security, there must be peace before any other development can take place.
Everyone will give details of his cow. Each family has a unique number on his cow, which is known. We will verify and ask the security to return them to the owners. Police have recovered 3 rifles, 320 rounds of live ammunition, 14 empty magazines, and 3 cutlasses. Also recovered were 4 motorcycles and the sum of 994,000 naira in cash and mobile phones. I don't know the owners of these guns, but I was asked to keep one. It was not mine. Somebody gave it to me. We are from Taraba. There has been security concern in some other parts of the country, like the Northwest, with the issue of banditry and kidnapping. And people in the Northeast are concerned that maybe some of the bandits that were being chased away by security will be migrating to Northeast. The good thing is the Gombe State security outfit were able to intercept the cows and the suspected bandits. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Well, sometimes you don't know whether to be happy when you hear reports like this or be disheartened that actually things like this do happen. I mean, like, you're happy that the bandits were intercepted and the cattle were recovered, but you are disheartened by the fact that it actually did happen.
That it happened in the first place is a problem.
Exactly.
And when you listen to that guy, one of the suspects, he said that he didn't know who owns the arm. All he just knew was that it was given to him. How do you collect something that somebody just gives to you?
You understand?
Especially an arm. It's not a stick.
Exactly.
You know?
And it was not something that was concealed to say, okay, I didn't know what was inside this bag.
It was a package and it was wrapped. No, it wasn't wrapped. No.
Exactly. It is quite unfortunate. It is quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, it's still daybreak on Trust TV. We'll take a short break right now, and when we return, we'll go to the front pages of the papers to see what's happening this morning. Do stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
But in a situation where you find that they must look at the not necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. Now we're in the newspaper review segment where we take a look at the major headlines on the national newspapers today. And to give perspective to the issues, we have the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Ben Sherman, here with us. Good morning. Yeah, welcome to Daybreak.
My pleasure once again, thank you.
All right, we'll be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. The Daily Trust newspaper today has a lead story that says 2023, North lags behind as voter registration ends in 4 days. The first rider says Delta Rivers register more people than Sokoto, Niger, Katsina. The second rider, Lagos, Kano, Delta top chart, Imo, Yobe, Ekiti lowest. Insecurity, disenchantment responsible. This is coming from Dawn, an activist. Below that, we have an infograph which shows how the registration stands at the moment. So if you want to get full information of that, do well to pick a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper today. And then we also have a story that says DSS presented 44 security reports before Kuje prison attack. This is coming from the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Buhari seeks confirmation of Ariwola as CJ and 19 others as INEC Rex. We also have a story here, Yaga Africa partners media trust on election debate. Right at the bottom, terrorists plotting to attack Lagos, FCT others. This is coming from the NSCDC. And it has a rider, schools, worship centers, national assets targeted. Above here, right below the masthead, we have a story, ASU, federal government not as NLC stages solidarity protest in states. No immediate solutions to aviation crisis. This is coming from the minister and the airlines. We also have another story here that says bandits kill 6 in Taraba, Katsina, abduct 36 in Kaduna. All right, Mr. Ben. This particular story here, no immediate solutions to aviation crisis. What's your take on that? And this is coming from the Minister of Aviation.
Exactly. It's worrisome, that people who should give us hope are the ones saying there's just no end in sight. So what happens? It means, of course, the economy will be affected, travelers affected because of this uncertainty. So there has to be a way of giving assurances.
Well, he said something actually. He said that, first of all, he said this is the reason that no immediate solution is because, first of all, the problem is global. And then he said that the second reason is because we do not produce the product in Nigeria. And then the third, he said, is because of difficulty in assessing forex.
Well, you see, all of them are government policies. If we talk of the global nosediving of the economy or fortune globally, it's a different thing. But when we also say that because we don't produce here in Nigeria, of course, government ought to have been producing before now. And sometimes we also have talk of reservations. I mean, do we reserve some of these things we produce? No. Why is it that it's always the cap in hand kind of approach to national issues of this nature?
So do you think there's actually proactive measures that could have been taken to forestall some of these things?
I mean, what is it? Just make our refineries to work.
Well, he actually, at that meeting with the airline operators, he said that they are working on making the refineries work. And some experts are wondering, because this government has been in power for 7 years, and they're wondering why, at this point, they're talking about working to make the refineries work, when it's just about 8 months to the end of the administration.
I mean, those who are in business, aviation-wise, are not policymakers. They are receivers of policies. So they service the people, so to speak. Government should simply give us what we want. What do we want? Aviation fuel. Not just aviation, fuel generally, so that every sector of this country is powered. You can't do operations in hospital without fuel generally, not just aviation. I mean, you can't go on a business talking of a private sector, talking of government offices. You can't do business without electricity. Just name it. Even the informal sector of the economy, when you're talking of the lady who runs a restaurant, there has to be some chill cold drink somewhere for some people to take. Talking about the barbing salons, there has to be light for all of them to perform. So it's not just sitting down and kind of reading the book of lamentation or telling us you can't do it. No, government should tell us they can do it so that we have hope. If you say you can't do it, it's beyond you. You don't even know when it's going to be. It's like you're telling us, look, it's such a hopeless situation. We want a government that will give the assurance, and of course, you said these are the things we are doing, and the press will also go to ascertain it is true. I mean, out of 10 stages, they are already on number 6. They are approaching 7. They will know there is hope. But when you give the impression that I mean, you can't fly, I mean, it's not it at all.
I'm talking about the things that government can and cannot do. The ASU strike has lingered, and yesterday we saw a raft of protests in different parts of the country. Do you think those protests will make any impact on what the government is going to do about the ASU strike?
Well, usually, I mean, what impact will that be when indeed we're talking of ASU that is making all sorts of demands? You look at the money, how huge it is. And because some committees have always been set up and they are saying this is how you jack up the money and also the allowances of lecturers. Now, Senior Staff Association has said, look, you can't jack that of lecturers and leave us behind. So we are in the same boat. If we sail together or sing together. And NASU, Senior Staff Association, is also saying, look, we all have to be, there is a tripartite kind of approach that we should have. So this strike is just to bring pressure to government. After all, labor unions are pressure organizations. They are not law-making bodies.
Do you think that
pressurize government?
Do you think that pressure would work though?
Well, I think that when government is sensitive, they just have to. But again, many of these labor leaders are also economic experts. They know inflows of money. Foreign exchange, is it coming in? What are we exporting? Are we actually exporting or we're importing? At what price? So they tend to know exactly how much we have. And of course, you look at the population in Nigeria, where it is said almost every hour now, a child or 2 or 3 or 5 are given birth to. So population is, in fact, surpassing facilities, surpassing services. And so government at the point too is worried. But again, labor in its own mannerism, the usualness, will have to pressurize government, and government will have to be very, very sensitive. But in terms of results too, government is, you can't just say no to everything. Labor, you can't just say we must get 100%. There has to be some giveaways. I mean, I've decided to cast away these, so that I stand on to this. Government will also do likewise, so that there's a point of convergence.
So we've had reports of negotiations being held between government and ASU for a very long time, I think since this strike started. And that's the give and take that you're talking about. And still no headway has been made to end the strike.
Yeah, you see, this thing is like advertisement. When they say this is Panadol, and of course, by the time you keep on repeating, something somewhere will happen. We've seen that, yes, some notable persons in society have been brought on board to see that this is resolved. But we cannot just say because it has not yet worked, so let's jettison everything. Let's just say no to everything. If we say no to everything, so what happens? There's a stalemate. There shouldn't be a stalemate. But I think that the Minister of Labor, in my own personal assessment, he appears to be a bit too stiff. We ought to have people who indeed are good negotiators to
But you know, the president has asked the Minister of Education to take over the negotiation.
And given the minister 2 weeks. to resolve this crisis.
We're in the second week now.
And of course, I'm waiting to see the magic. I am always a hopeful person, but 2 weeks for this crisis to be resolved is really not a simple thing. Issues of IPPIS, issues of UTAS, there's no reconciliation there. And of course, I've seen that even a copper has a kind of created an app that is saying, look, you can use this, and they've tested it in NYC. It's working. So if Nigerians are providing solutions, university lecturers are saying IPPIS is controlled abroad, is created abroad, but this is what they have also created in terms of university research findings. So why is government saying no? Because universities lecturers are also saying, look, if you look at IPPIS, you pay hard currency, you having the biodata of many people, virtually all Nigerians abroad, control abroad. When it did UTAS, he said, look, okay, you can hold on to IPPIS if you want, but for the university, this is what we have created. And of course, if you stay by it, I think it's a better way. So there has to be give and take. We are still insisting there has to be, so that we don't believe that there's just no way this crisis could be resolved. There are many ways.
All right. There's a story here on the front page of the Daily Trust. Terrorists plotting to attack Lagos, FCT, others. This is coming from the NSCDC. Actually, the story was based on a leaked letter or memo to their state chapters, and it was meant to tell the people there to stay on alert, their personnel to be on alert. What do you say to that?
First of all, security agencies should give us hope. When you just say they will attack there, they will attack there, they will attack there, honestly, you are not giving us hope. You are instilling fears into us. It's like there's one big, there was this book, there is this book written by George Orwell, 1984, where the Ministry of Truth was in charge of lies. Ministry of Plenty was in charge of starvation. You know, all this propaganda. But having said so, I'm also seeing that the Deputy Speaker of House of Reps said that there were about 44 messages sent to by the SSS that there was going to be attack on this Kuje facility, and it came to be. Now we're talking of Mungadi, Deputy Officer in charge of operations of Security and Civil Defense Corps. I mean, saying that bandits or terrorists would attack these areas, and it's now going nationwide. You see, it will instill more fear on us. And what are we talking about?
Is it possible to make people to be on alert?
People, what alert will the Stella want to be? You want Stella to be indoors?
Don't also forget that this letter wasn't to the public. It was supposed to be to their units.
You see, Stella, we are in this job together. There are things, I can write, and suddenly I give it to Stella to just go to Daily Trust television, and I simply say, look, according to a leaked document, when indeed they would deliberately leak it to show Mr. President, show Nigerians that this agency is working. But we've been talking of what they call interagency cooperation. If you see, like NSDC, if they've seen this, they've found this, share that information with the Army, with the Navy, with the Air, with the police, with the State Security Service, even with the NIA, so that inflows of arms externally is being traced. And when they do come, SSS internally will now take charge. The police will be all over the place. The army will be so palpable. They are all over the place. But when you say leak document and Nigerians are living in fear, I want to go to the market, see the way people were rushing to take their children from federal government colleges because of all this. Yes, the threats became a reality because at the Point Low School in Buhari here was a target, and of course a captain was killed and some other soldiers. And so if we having all of this, we expect that the security agencies, once you hear this, you have a kind of a pool where you can share information. This agency moves that way, that agency moves that way. And of course, in terms of joint operations, they should be able to tackle some of these things. But when some people want to outdo, outsmart, show the public, look, oh yeah, we the so-so-so agency found this, we the so-so-so agencies did this, and of course you just felt, let me leak it to the press, and then now saying it's been leaked to the press, or leaked by the press, or the press found it. The press, yeah, someone somewhere must have said, take this so that we can score a point. Let Nigerians know we are working. But yes, you are working. If truly you found out some of these things, you should be able to nip that in the bud. Not that you make Nigeria everywhere people are scared, don't go to market, don't go to public places, much churches, I mean, big gatherings, try to avoid them. Are we saying we should stay indoors? Why are you security agencies? Show them that you are up there and they are down there. Show them that you are the aggressor. Show them that you take the fight to them. Show them that they are mere things and you are in charge. Instead of, do I call it information that is going awry, not properly managed? I think that the security agencies, as in this case, should do more than talking the talk. They should walk it.
All right.
Yes.
Well, that discussion on security has actually led us to our next newspaper that we're looking at, because the Guardian newspaper has this major headline on its front page. Terrorism, Senate mum, Abuja residents on high alert over planned attacks. And some writers here to buttress that story. Wase, DSS submitted 44 security reports before Kuje prison break. Attack on presidential guards troops. Army lieutenant, 5 soldiers missing in action. Another writer here that says terrorists assembling weapons to attack Buhari's state, FCT Lagos, says NSCDC. And appointing northerners as head of security institutions worsened situation, says Huriwa. And FG procures 6 attack helicopters from Turkey. Now, these are the writers supporting the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Talking about the Guardian newspaper, right at the bottom of the page there, expect another NSAS uprising if ASU strike lingers, NLC Falana tells FG. And right beside that, PDP suit challenging Tinubu Obi's running mates adjourned till August 12th. At the top of the page, right below the nameplate, Daniel Oko emerges CAN president, and NBA president fails to attend body of benches meeting. Terrorists kill 3, abduct principal, others in Katsina. And talking about health now, anxiety as cholera kills 10 persons in Taraba. Well, these are the major headlines on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Well, one headline that I actually want us to look at is, apart from the security issue that's been on most front pages, I mean, like this political story that the PDP challenging Tinubu and Obi's nomination of running mates, saying that the placeholders that were there before should be the substantive running mates, and then what they did was actually illegal. I don't know what your take will be on that.
Well, if you're talking of nomenclature, is placeholder actually reflected in the Electoral Act?
INEC says it's actually not.
So, if it is not, if they say, give me a girl to marry, and you went and brought a boy, then it is a misnomer. And that is why PDP is feeling, yeah, they can go to court and challenge it. But having said so, it's now left for the court to look at it diligently to ensure that justice is not just served, it is done, and it is correct justice.
But the Electoral Act gives you the opportunity to actually substitute candidates.
Yeah, you see, you said substitute candidates. Did they say substitute placeholder?
Well, it's semantics.
Exactly.
It's semantics.
It's
placeholder
semantics.
candidate.
Those who created the law knew what they were. When you say placeholder, it's like you having someone for the interim. A bigger person is coming. So why didn't you present that bigger person up initial? You should be able to do all of this. And that's why when we're talking of a very stable polity, I mean, for politics to strive for Nigeria to be stable, politics has to come to play. Now, look at, instead of campaigning, we're still looking at some nitty-gritties.
Campaigns haven't started, actually. Formally, they haven't kicked off.
Yeah, campaigns have not started, but again, you see, they are all there indirectly. Let there be a wedding of someone in society, and you see how all of them will be rushing. Let there be some little staggered election somewhere. Everybody will be there showing that they are in charge. Governors will move to compete as to who is donating what. And so I believe that this issue has some merit, that the court must have to listen to it. Because when you're talking of candidate and we're talking of placeholder, they are different. The law says candidate, and you can substitute a candidate. So this law, I think, in my best opinion, is blind to the phrase or the name, the noun placeholder. It is blind. So if it is just not there, it is not there. Sorry, I'm not a PDP man. We say in pidgin, if he didn't day, he didn't day. And so that is it.
All right, there's a story there. Anxiety as cholera killed 6 persons in Taraba. You see, every year during the rainy season, you get to hear the stories of cholera has killed 20 in the state, has killed 40 in that state, and all of that. And I'm wondering, why do they have to happen every year? Is there nothing that can be done to maybe sensitize the people ahead that, okay, this is a very, this kind of period, these things will happen, and these are the things that you could do so that this doesn't have to happen?
Yeah, you see, government in its own wisdom at the point launched this no to open defecation. They did that. But did the state take over from there? And from the state, did local governments take over from there? From local government to what? And even to village head level, did they take all of that into cognizance? And that's why when you have this open defecation, the rains will come, sweep them into our streams, into our rivers, and of course bearing in mind that many people still fetch water from the streams. And that's why cholera that ordinarily we ought to overcome in this country, you just look at it, I mean, killing Nigerians. I think that we should take our approach to community health seriously. And what does it take to actually have pit latrines that you can also even use water to do some washing rather than going to bushes? And of course our farms are there, our potatoes, our maize, everything, all sorts of flies are patching on what we eat. So you look at our vegetable, where are they being grown? What are they, I mean, people go to defecate around these areas, and look at even go to the markets and see how dirty they are. You look at meat sellers, and incidentally, when they say if you don't see flies hovering on meat in the market, then it has been treated with some chemicals and dangerous to you. So why do we tend to have all of this? When indeed our meat can actually be put in some glasses, when you want, they pull it out, put on a scale, they pay, and off you go. You can even put it in a scale just the way we have, in some kilograms or grams, and you just go, give me some 5 kilograms, give me some 10 kilograms. They've already been packaged. These are things that are doable, but we still see people. Every time I come to this place, almost every day, I see some people carrying cow meat on motorcycles, open like that, flowing, meandering within motorcycles. I mean, traffic light to go deliver meat. Is that the best way we can supply this meat? And some of us will buy cross-leg, carry remote control. We think we are taking the best, not knowing that it's been contaminated. Yes, things should be done. Open defecation, let's end it.
All right. I think now on to the This Day newspaper. Let's look at the headlines, the basic major stories on this day. It has the lead story that says 2 captains, 1 soldier in heroic deaths as Guards Brigades on routine patrols ambushed Tembuari. Above that, we have across Nigeria, NLC protest ASU's continuous strike action. And just below the masthead, we have a story that says APC appoints Oshomole El-Rufai chair DG presidential campaign. You see, there's this story here of interest. 2 captains, 1 soldier in heroic deaths. They were killed 2 days ago. Now, the story surrounding their death was that the law school had written a letter or had made a distress call, rather, to the Guards Brigade, informing them that bandits or terrorists had written them and warned that or threatened to attack the law school. This captain and his soldiers went there to the law school and met with the teachers and the heads of the school, the management. It was on their way back that they were attacked. This brings me to the issue of informants. How did these terrorists know that these people were on that road at that time?
Yes, I tell you two things I once witnessed, and I once said it here. There was a day I was just to change a tire in Area 1. A woman selling this akara, this bean cakes and akamu. That early morning, we saw that she was quenching the fire and carrying everything in a haste. I said, madam, it's too early for you to close shop. He said, my brother has just called me that task force, they come this area any moment from now. And lo and behold, before I could leave, they were there talking of an informant, insider, informing someone. That is 1. 2, just yesterday, around the city gate, there was a broken down vehicle and a forerunner came in their big bike. And of course, he was trying to clear things. Of course, I was stuck there. Then someone said, when you see this man, IG1 pass here. And honestly, before I could reach the military cemetery, the IG convoy came. So people know movements.
So what can be done in this fight?
Just a moment. So in the case of these captains, yes, there was this information from the law school. Look, we are receiving some intelligence reports. We're seeing strange movements, and we are wondering, come see. And that team actually went in terms of Reiki, in terms of risk assessment. I mean,
they didn't even go with a military vehicle. They were in a private vehicle.
I mean, so when you go there, of course, when you are doing some jobs, some quiet jobs, you don't need to pronounce your presence. But again, they also failed to do some security, intelligence work as per their own movement. When we go there, is the cost clear? You must have sent somebody to go in. He makes an observation. Yeah, the cost is clear. Then they move in. They want to return. In the same way, 2, 3 others in different spots must have also gone ahead to clear ways for them. But if you go, there's this thing you call fighting a blind war. You just begin to spray the bullets in some areas, believing that the enemy is there. It's really not the case. So they ought to have done some due diligence in terms of intelligence gathering. You send some people, they go there, they assess. Yes, it is true, you can come in, and you now make this assessment. You're going with your recommendation because of what you have seen. You did not even reach your base. Now you were killed. Something went wrong. And we also expected that when they were killed, there ought to be this prompt, very immediate action from the Guards Brigade, so that those who carried the dastardly act would have been fished, would have been apprehended and brought to justice. So if we allow time to pass, time lapse, of course they will stabilize. And usually those who did that thing, the way they scamper, the way they run, believing that there will be reinforcement so soon, I think that was not done. And we expected, we ought to have been seeing some helicopters owned by the Nigerian Air Force. As soon as, after all, there's also the air wing of the Nigerian Army. We ought to have seen immediate, once they said, look, A captain disease has been killed, and his team. Of course, we have immediate deployment to that area. While the Air Force is destabilizing up there, the Army will take charge on the ground. And I tell you, they'll be apprehended.
Well, we can talk security all day, and we won't be able to exhaust what we have, because in keeping with the insecurity theme, the Punch newspaper also has this major headline on its front page. ISWAP plots massive attacks on Lagos, Kaduna, others. Now, these are headlines that we've actually seen on other newspapers as well. ASU, Labour threatens to shut down economy, plans strike. Nigerian graduates working as Canadian guards killed and identified. Now, passengers tackle bribe-seeking Osun politician, law graduate battered. Another headline here says, Muslim ticket, Tinubu begins consultation, Khan denies knowledge. And above the name mast there, no immediate solution to aviation sector, as a headline that we've already seen. MFLA, house to bar CBN chiefs from politics. And quite an interesting one here. Subsidy, lawmakers to probe Jonathan's administration. And right there at the top of the front page, FX crisis, made in Nigeria products fall by 27% to 7.4 trillion naira. Well, these are the major headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Well, the interesting one that I was actually talking about is this issue of subsidy and lawmakers getting set to probe Jonathan's administration. I mean, like, are we still going there?
That's an administration that left office
exactly
7 years ago.
Honestly,
so why are we still going there?
You see, do I actually say, where is the result of every other problem they've been having? Where's the result? So that if we are talking of tackling this kind of conduit pipe when it comes to what they call turnaround maintenance of refineries. Let us refine our refineries and stop this issue of, we are trying
Did you just say refine our refineries?
Honestly, because who are you really subsidizing? I don't know how many times you've had reasons to drive freely into a filling station, take your fuel, and off you go. If we refine and we want to still make money, we can export to West African countries. We can also export to many other countries. You know, we are talking of Europe being in a big stage of demand in terms of gas supply. We have ours being flat. I mean, it's bonds going just that way into sky and depleting our environment. Our reps are not seeing all of these things. Okay, let's go and probe Jonathan. Let's come and probe up to Obasanjo. No, let's stop with Buhari. Where has the result been? We've been seeing all sorts of props here and there. Let us make our system to work, honestly. And I haven't done that prop. They did prop in terms of electricity. Where's the result? We've not seen it. You know, and you're talking of prop. We've propped aviation fuel jet A1. Where's the result? We've not seen it. We've been probing security prop. No, sack service chiefs. No, do this. I mean, we've been seeing all of this. Where is that taking us to? It's like there's always this drama. We want to play to the gallery. We want to make Nigerians see that we are working. Look, in as much as it does not change the situation, gentlemen, I think that the lawmakers should do a proper oversight function than all this. Where were they all this while? Because some of them are ranking lawmakers. They've been there since 1999. Although many have been defeated via these last primaries. But if they were doing their oversight function very well, we would not be in this mess. And so while you are probing the past, something is going on in the present. What are you doing about it?
All right, let's quickly take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper also has a lead story that says, 2 officers, 6 soldiers killed in attack on presidential guards. It also has the story, varsity strike, act fast to avert unrest. This is coming from Labour to the federal government. Above the masthead, Buhari says confirmation of acting CJN 19 wrecks. Train attack victim, 100 million paid for my freedom. This is coming from one of the victims. These are the major stories on the Nation newspaper. The thing is this, you keep hearing that these train attack victims are paying, their families are paying so much, 100 million, as much as 100 million. And one wonders, what happens to victims whose families may not ever be able to raise anything close to that amount?
Honestly, they are the ones receiving that inhuman treatment you saw, the beating. Even a dog has what you call animal rights, not to talk of human beings. And when you also look at those perpetrating the beating, you see that they need rehabilitation. The money they've been collecting, what do you use it for? I was listening to BBC. Some of them said, look, we use it to buy arms, more arms. It's not as if they are buying houses. It's not as if they are buying or sending people to schools. So we buy arms. And when I also listened to, they call him Ado Alero, that was said to, they almost gave him a chieftaincy title. The man said, look, the allegation he's bringing, I want government to take it seriously. Said the Hausas no longer take the Fulanis to be anything. I mean, it is something serious that should be looked at. It should be, seriously. Those days we hear of Hausa Fulani, this Hausa Fulani, it was like a joint ticket. But if Ado Alero is now bringing some kind of a divide, I think that those who know, those who should do something, this is time. The warning signals are so clear. If at the point somebody is saying, Sarikin Fulani, the chief or the king of the Fulanis, he's receiving that title, it says a lot in terms of future security. When asked, this money, what do you use it for? He said, when you hear Nigerians are protesting in the streets and government answers them, in our own case, we even attack villagers, helpless people, because that is the only way they can bring, attention of government to what the plight of the Fulanis are. And honestly, I think that if the masses are now attacking the masses, then there is a very big problem. Time has come that everyone should just come to the negotiation table. Those who say, no, we cannot negotiate, I think time has come for negotiation. And when, like you said, Stella, those who cannot pay, the last one, they're saying they paid 100 million. How many people can afford a bag of fertilizer? Yeah. Not to talk of having this kind of humongous amount to pay for freedom. So I think that government, the carrot and stick approach, the kinetic, use the force where it's possible. But when you say there's going to be collateral damage, innocent people will suffer. They are already suffering. There has to be a way out.
Looked into, and we hope that solutions will be found where they are supposed to be. Ben Shamang, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we quite enjoy the insights there being given on the newspaper review. So we hope when next we call upon you, you will be here on the show again.
Always a great pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, that wraps up the newspaper review on this morning's segment of the show. So we'll take a short break, and when we return, the break continues. Do stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful.
Dear residents of our beautiful capital city of Abuja, I know we all desire to have a world-class city with working infrastructure and clean streets. That is why the Federal Capital Territory Administration is investing a lot of resources and manpower to ensure prompt evacuation of refuse from all nooks and crannies of the city. Now, this can only be sustained if all residents play their part by promptly paying their waste collection bills. Encourage everyone around you to be patriotic and pay their bills. The task of keeping Abuja clean is for all of us. Remember, soup way sweet, na money kill out. This message is from the Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining, you're on to Daybreak on Trust Television. It's top of the hour. Let's take the headlines again. Insecurity, Buhari may not escape being kidnapped. Buba Galadima.
Bandits reabduct wife of Fulani leader in Abuja.
Transporters increase fare over economic crisis.
Now look at the details. Our former ally of President Muhammadu Buhari, Buba Galadima, has said that with the lingering insecurity in the country, he won't be surprised if the #1 citizen is kidnapped. Galadima was reacting to the insecurity bedeviling the country in an interview with BBC Hausa Service. Now, he added that if terrorists can have access to break Kuje prison, Buhari himself is not safe. According to him, the only option available now is to either for Nigerians to continue praying for or arm themselves for protection. He said if the citizens depend on this government, definitely they will be killed.
Now, Mrs. Habiba Adamu, wife of Ardum Fulani in Kwali Area Council of Abuja, Alhaji Adamu Garba Ardo, has been re-abducted. The woman who was abducted in February but rescued by some vigilantes was kidnapped alongside 3 of her children on Monday night. The senior wife of the Ardum Fulani, Mrs. Khadijat Adamu, confirmed the kidnap to a reporter on Tuesday. She said bandits invaded Anwar Tudun Fulani at Yangoji village in Kwali Area Council of Abuja around 12:04 a.m. She said the bandits gained access into the house through the kitchen back door, adding that she was initially abducted but released when the bandits realized that she could not walk because of old age. The 3 children were identified as Hafsat, Fatima, and Abubakar.
And moving on now, the private transport owners have announced a 25% increase in fares for commercial trips on interstate routes. In a memo issued on Tuesday, the Association of Private Transport Company Owners of Nigeria asked its members to effect the increase from August 25, 2022. The development comes after Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria announced that the price of bread is expected to rise by 20% over the increase in price of raw materials occasioned by the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The transporter said, owing to the prevalent harsh economic situation as well as the recently announced increase in petrol pump price across the country, the board of the association, in collaboration with its members' companies, deliberated and unanimously agreed that a marginal increase in interstate transportation fares is inevitable.
Now on to some packages. Following the federal government's shutdown order, schools within the FCT are preparing to halt academic activities despite the ongoing National Examination Council NECO test for senior secondary schools, as well as terminal examinations by other students. Musa Luka tells us more.
Insecurity in Nigeria has been the major challenge for almost all sectors in the country, with education not spared. With the order affecting both public and private secondary schools, education in FCT will be brought to total halt as Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has been on strike for over 5 months. This follows intelligent report of threat to some schools within FCT and the attack in Buari area of the Federal Capital Territory. A visit to some schools within FCT reveals that students who ought to be writing NACO were in school but not participating in the exams, while principal officers declined comment. At the junior secondary school Season 3, the principal, Olukemi Adebimpe, agreed that the safety of lives comes before education, hence the need to hold academic activities.
The security of the children is more important than what we are, is more important, and that is why the federal government said that all schools should close latest Wednesday, 27th July. By next week, Wednesday, we are supposed to close for the session. So these few days, about, let me say about 5 days, it's only 5 days now that we are missing. If we close tomorrow, Wednesday, we are having Thursday, Friday, then Wednesday next week we are supposed to close for the session. So that 5 days cannot affect the school calendar. So everything will be okay, whatever and I don't think anything there's not going to be any adverse effect on the learners, because already we have finished our syllabus, we have finished, it's just for them to write exam, and which the only thing is the stress on the students, because we have to increase the number of subjects they write daily.
While these schools take a break over insecurity, one question that Nigeria are asking is, what will government do differently to change the security situation before the students resume to school? Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, in the Northwest, the peaceful rallies in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, witnessed massive turnout as the Nigeria Labour Congress in the zone also joined their counterparts across the nation to draw the government's attention to the plight of ASU. Here's the report.
In Kaduna State, the chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ayuba Suleiman, led the street protest from the Secretariat of the Union to the State Assembly to deliver a letter to the Speaker of the Kaduna State House of Assembly. From Katsina State, the peaceful protest led by the state NLC chairman Hussaini Hamisu Yanduna was also supported by the Nigeria Union of Teachers, Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees, Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, and the National Union of Road Transport Workers. Students' unions were not left behind, with most of the members seen carrying various placards with different inscriptions and chanting solidarity songs such as "No lectures, no election." On arrival at the Katsina State House of Assembly complex, the state NLC chairman was received by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Taisu Megerizango, and some selected members of the Assembly. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly appreciated the peaceful conduct of the protests, giving assurances that the Assembly was strongly behind them.
This district, Mr. Speaker, has manifested in a strike for past 5 months and has come to a huge cost for the students, the university staff, the government, other stakeholders, and the entire country. The strike, as you already know, is over the non-observance by the government. The agreement is voluntarily entered into with the unions. I try to appeal to you to use your good office and good conscience to get the foreign government to bring out to an end to this strike action.
In Kano, the state NLC chairman Kabiru Ado Minjibir, who led affiliate unions on the Solidarity rally, said they were delivering the message of resolution of the NLC national body to Governor Abdullahi Ganduje to intimate him on the need to intervene to resolve the lingering strike in universities.
Still on the same issue, solidarity protests were also held across the north-central region of the country, with affiliate unions joining the Academic Staff Union of Universities to protest the yet-to-be-resolved strike. Let's take the report.
Nigeria, walk
In Plateau, the state chapter of NLC and its affiliate unions turned out en masse for protests, which started from Secretariat Junction under the flyover with heavy security presence to the Plateau State House of Assembly, where they were received by the Speaker, Right Honorable Yakubu Sanda.
We just got a letter. We are attending the Conference of Speakers by next week in Abuja. And collectively with the speakers of Nigeria are taking this headlong because we represent you, you voted us into this office, your plight is ours. If you don't finish your school, there's no how one day you will not take over these offices that we are occupying today. And therefore it is our responsibility to make a voice. Because we are your voice, we should make a voice, and by the grace of God we will make a voice.
Some of the protesters who spoke with Trust TV said the protest is necessary and timely, adding that they will not be weary or deterred.
The Nigerian universities have been closed for over 6 months now, and our children, our students, our brothers and sisters have been at home. And millions of naira, we are seeing the politicians spending so much money, yet they continue to say there is no money to fund the educational sector.
I'm very sad about this strike because we've been home for more than 5 months now, and the government is not saying anything about it, which is very wrong. Even the students at home are not enjoying staying at home.
My view about the strike is that it is timely because it appears this is the only language the government understands. Because there are quite a number of demands that ASU is putting before the government, and for a long time they've not been able to implement it.
A similar exercise was also held around major streets in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, by the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other university unions.
We don't want to stay at home, but the Nigerian government has decided that they will listen to us. They are killing education in like the same way they killed primary and secondary education, the same way they have killed all our transport system. They want to kill Nigerian public university system so that the average Nigerian child will not be able to go to school. Today, Nigerians are asking that universities be privatized.
BSU is not on solidarity strike. Okay. We are fully on strike with our national body because we have a full charter of ASU. Anytime the union calls out its members to embark on an action, and we are convinced that that action is what will bring dividends to us, we join.
Also on the streets were members of the Senior Staff Association of the Nigerian Universities and the Nigeria Labour Congress, who both said they can no longer keep mute in the midst of government.
Our issues are straight. We are demanding a new payment platform, U3PS, which we have developed and has presented to government for assessment. We are very optimistic that government will see reason to use our payment platform for university salaries.
And to note that the continuous closure of our institution due to the lingering prolonged ASU strike have greatly affected the emotional, the psychological, the economic and security well-being, not just Nigerian students, but the entire Nigerians from all walks of life.
We are just beginning. What we have done today is to send a signal and to call on His Excellency and all the political leaders in this country to intervene.
The protest, which commenced at the NLC Secretariat in Makurdi, ended at the Benue State Government House, where the Secretary to the State Government, Anthony Ijoho, addresses the protesters on behalf of Governor Samuel Otom.
I also call on the federal government that each issue of no pay, no work, no pay should be revisited. It doesn't make sense. This strike is not about payment of salaries. No, they have raised many issues.
In Nasarawa, the state chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress, led by its chairman, Yusuf Iya, joined the nationwide protest to put pressure on the federal government to expedite action to end the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. At the procession, which commenced from Total Filling Station to the Government House Lafia, Iya said the prolonged strike has negatively affected the education sector, with students now vulnerable to vices due to idleness. Receiving the protesters, Governor Abdullahi Sule lauded the leadership of the union as well as members for conducting themselves peacefully and promised to table their issues at the meeting of Governors Forum for prompt intervention.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we're going to our first discussion of the day. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust TV. Now, in almost all countries, voters must be registered in order to be eligible to participate in an election. Voter registration is intended to ensure that everyone entitled to vote can do so, to prevent ineligible persons from voting and to guard against multiple voting by the same individual. Now, the accuracy of voter register is a key element in ensuring that all qualified constituents can enjoy the right to vote. In Nigeria, to allow voters exercise their rights ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, created a window to allow eligible voters register. Now, the period allowed by the electoral umpire is ending this Sunday, that's the 31st of July, yet more Nigerians are yet to register. So on Daybreak today, we're going to look at the power of a vote in a democracy. We're also being joined in the studio right now by the Director of Strategic Communications Coalition of Northern Group, that's Samaila Musa, and of course the convener of National Political Equity Movement, Chibuzo Okereke. They're right here in the studio. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
And also via Zoom from Kano, we have the Executive Director, Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education, Dr. Ibrahim Zikirullah. Good
morning.
Now, before we go into the discussion proper, let's take this report by our reporter, Aisha Saleh.
The last-minute rush that comes with the news of suspension of the CVR exercise has also come with a surge that is almost overwhelming for INEC officials and security operatives. Prospective registrants complain of unfair treatment by officials and worry that this may end with the unfortunate news of them not being able to be captured within the last few days.
Look at the whole population, the population of more than 200 people. You can see only 2 laptops. It's one person is doing registration, the other person is doing capturing. And the person is not even sitting down on his chair. He will be stuck sitting, go and buy granite outside, go and sit down, go and make up. They are not serious.
I've been here for 1 week trying to struggle to register. I told you this thing. Most people have been here since 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. They haven't done theirs. I said it's based on familiarity now.
To address some of the challenges, the INEC FCT Resident Electoral Commissioner Yahya Bello at an earlier press conference had noted that since the initial extension of the deadline, the Commission had created more centers, mobilized more machines and personnel.
He approved, extra personnel to man these machines, and also approved that we open so many other centers so that it will ease the congestion.
But to these registrants, the situation remains the same.
We'll be there since so. Some people will just come in with their convoy, they'll let them in. And we don't know how it's happening. Okay, they say they want to start with the list. We wrote our names. Okay, let's do it orderliness. Before you know, they'll open the gate for people with convoy, they'll go in. And the rest, you see them start voting, they're out. They'll start doing their voters card for them, they're out. Registration center close to our area, we have been there and they are not more working there. And people that have been going there, they say the crowd is too much and the machines are few. Okay, look at us now that we are here. How can one person be attending to 500 people?
We,
since morning. Some people left their work, left everything, just have to just sacrifice a day. My own is not even a day, 1 week. Kubwa, no. Duse, no. Central area, they have to divert that waiting now. Even the fuel itself, they increase it, but yet we are still blowing left and right.
The CVR exercise, in spite of the many challenges, continues till its suspension on the 31st of July 2022. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, that report giving us an insight out as to how easy or how difficult it is to get registered for the PVC. And we definitely know that without being on the voters register and without getting your PVC, you will not be able to vote. Well, that forms the fulcrum of our discussion this morning. So I'll start from my immediate right. Chibuzo, let me ask you now, why are we having this rush at this moment on the voters registration? Because it has been something that's been going on for a while, but is it a lack of sensitization? Is it now that people are being aware that they really need to come and register, or is it just a question of having a lackadaisical attitude towards the whole situation, and it's now that when it's almost ending that people are going out for it?
Well, I would say there are many factors.
Okay.
First of all, the most important currency in Nigeria today is no longer the dollar or euro, but the PVC. In your introduction, you said something about how important voters are in a democracy. Democracy is all about legitimacy and popular participation. And then the people that bring about that legitimacy and popular participation are the voters. And like you say, sovereignty belongs to the people. And representative democracy is such that these people now surrender their political, socio-economic powers to a few who handle their affairs. Now, this Nigeria, we have an attitude of last-minute rush. We saw that with the BVN, we saw that with the NIN, and we are seeing that with the voter registration. Not just now. In 2011, we faced that challenge. Ahead of 2015, the same thing, and the 2018 registration. And of course, as we are going into 2023, we are facing the same, challenge. But like I said, a lot of factors are responsible. First, most of these activities are done during work hours. And the socio-economic challenges of the people today. Voter registration is not the priority of the people per se, because the people are trying to survive by finding means of livelihood. And when these activities are done during work hours, there is no multi-stakeholder engagement that allows workers to go and register during work hours. In fact, you could know that you may be sanctioned for leaving your workplace to go and
but there are break periods.
The break period is not for every office. So that also is a big challenge. So INEC may be making efforts, but the capacity to carry the desire of the number of people that wants to register is not functioning at optimal level. Just last week, we now began to see NGOs and some CSOs, that INEC probably is working with, going to estates to do this registration on Saturdays and Sundays. Traditionally, the INEC officers will not do that on a weekend. And this is the kind of engagement that can even open up the system. And when you have a centralized registration system, you also face that challenge of being able to carry people along. For instance, look at the population of a local government and how many registration equipment are deployed. And you could also see political interference where people with political powers come and say, I need this thing for my place. And then they fund logistics to do that. In an area where you don't have somebody of political influence, they will also be having that particular challenge. And like the report captured, where you have somebody who is sent on an important assignment, not putting the required man-hour to deliver on the job, getting distracted, left, right, and center with frivolous things that are not needed. It also causes disaffection. And that is why you could see organizations like Yaga Africa and Co. have been partnering with INEC to do a concert to sensitize people, and they made PVC the ticket to that concert. You could see the rush in Old Parade Ground and what have you. So a lot of factors are responsible for this, but I sincerely believe we can improve on what we are doing now.
All right, so my question is to Mr. Sumaila. It's 4 days to go.
Yes.
Are we going to get every eligible voter registered?
Well, it's very, very impossible to do that, you know. World over, even in advanced climes, it's not everyone that is eligible to vote that actually get registered in the long run. But I'm hoping that there will be improvements, you know, because there has never been this level of sensitization on voter, PVC in the history of Nigeria like we're having now. And, you know, it's as if it's just now that some people are actually knowing their civic responsibility, that they need to actually have that, because this will go a long way in making their voices to actually be heard. So, but the fact that even though the sensitization is coming, for me, it's coming late, because the drive wasn't this much of an issue, because, I mean, the INEC should have considered that the nature of Nigerians were always this kind of people, you know, who were acting on spur of the moment. So this sensitization should have been earlier if you know you have a deadline. But I feel that if going by the kind of turnout you're seeing now, because even after this, from the time they extended, we had about maybe 9 million more youths who are now registered. So, and the drive is becoming more and more. So I'll plead with INEC if there's a room for that, because election is still 2023, such that, you know, you don't deprive some people who are actually not aware of this before now. So many people just feel, it's just my own card. It doesn't make any difference in the long run. But people are now becoming more aware that, no, that one vote that you feel you want to trash is actually going to go a long way when they all come together, because you have many people in that class that always believe it doesn't change anything.
Well, as a follow-up to your plea to INEC, some other persons have made the same plea to INEC to extend the deadline. However, INEC has said that they need time to clean the register. They need time to harmonize it. They need time to display the same thing, working with the Electoral Act. Don't forget that the Electoral Act says that all of that must be done 90 days before the general elections, and then they have to also furnish the parties with the voters list 30 days before the general election. So INEC is saying that they need to do all of this before that. So your plea and the provisions of the Electoral Act and all the things INEC has said that they need to do, do you think that there's a way around that?
Well, the point is, if democracy is actually not for some people, by some people, for some people, if it's actually the government of the people, for the people, by the people, and now you're having, this is the yearning of any government anywhere in the world, to say, my own people, my citizenry is actually now aware, more aware than ever, to participate in the electioneering. So the laws, it's made for people. And if people are now becoming more aware that, oh, so this is actually my right, this is actually a way to make my country work, this is a way to make my voice to be heard, why not? If there's room for that, but they can come up with excuses to say it's not doable, or maybe after they must have finished the cleaning, because I'm sure the kind of turnout you have now might not be the same number, eventually after the first cleaning they want to do. So maybe there's going to be room for some extension. It might be for 2 weeks, might be for 3 weeks. That will allow so many other people to actually get involved and get their PVCs.
All right. Well, Dr. Zikrillah, let me bring you into the discussion at this time. We've already established in the studio that this is something that happens in every election cycle, every election year, from 2011, 2015, 19, and now we're seeing it now. It happens every election, during every election cycle. Is there anything we can do to make sure that, or to reduce the level of occurrence? Because right now we're seeing a higher level of awareness from people. That means a higher number of people coming in to do this thing within this short time. Is there anything we can do to be able to reduce this thing from happening when it comes to every election period?
First of all, let me state that the rush that we are experiencing is not as a result of just the deadline. As you may have observed from reports that were made earlier, I mean, some of the complaints, some have been coming to registration center for more than one location to another, and they still haven't been able to access registration. So even INEC officials are not always serious, except when the deadline is close. Because if they were doing what they ought to do right from the start, I'm sure by now we won't be having the kind of rush we are having. Having said that, I must also say that if INEC has fixed a deadline, they should also be able to estimate that within that deadline, we should be able to cover whoever wish to register. So you set a deadline. It's not my fault. I may choose to come to the last minute. And it's your duty to register me. So if you don't have the capacity, why do you call people out? Not that people are not willing. I give you a graphic example. In my place in Edo State, because of the way we are being pushed down at the radar of political recognition, we send messages out to everybody across that they should go home and register, and those are told to be mobilized. So we are the one that we send vehicles to our local government headquarters, Auchi, to go and pick INEC officials with their material down to Agbede. At some point, they will say, no, one politician said the machine must not leave Auchi that day. So we started writing to REC and the rest. These are challenges most communities face. People want to do this thing, people want to perform their civic responsibility, but they just don't have the opportunity. Of stringence that are in place. And so while you may fault the people that for not coming out, what about if my age, it is today I clock 18? Do I have to come yesterday? Would I be rejected? So these are things we need to take into consideration. And so if Nigeria is even a country where there is effective justice system, I'm sure by differentializing one person, we even render the whole election null and void. Because this is the only opportunity we have to speak to the government. There's nothing like referendum in our constitution. So people will just sit somewhere and throw down some policies in our throat. So we have to consume it, whether we like it or not. So voting again, which is the only opportunity, I don't think there should even be deadline at all. If we are doing this, then they should, in these days of technology, system that can be put in place, as you are registering, it is being cleaned up and you are having your voter's card. I don't know whether you need another 6 months to sit down and begin to look whether this one is correct or that one is not correct. So by biometric and all these three, we expect that there will be automatic cleansing. go to embassy to go and for visa.
Dr. Zik.
Or go to bank. Some of these things is almost the same.
Dr. Zik.
So for me, I don't think that people should be pressurized by whatever reason, so whatever.
All right, Dr. Zik, you have talked about individual efforts, and then Chibuzo has also talked about the efforts of the CSOs. Where are the political parties in all of this? Yes, it is true that by voting, the populace gets the kind of democracy that they want and the kind of people that they want. But the political parties are also beneficiaries of this process in the long run, right? So what are they doing to support this process?
You see, we are just poised with fait accompli. We don't have a choice. So whatever they push out to us, then we accept. So in the recess of it, do we have political parties in Nigeria? My answer is no. Because political parties where you have few that determines what happens in the political parties, it's not free for people to enter. They determine who will get what. So you cannot be recognized as a political party. They are more or less like companies. That they have that name, political party does not really make them political parties, because political parties are even go between the governed and the government. They are to aggregate the opinions of the people. They are to channel the grievances of the people. So people elect their some that you find there are some that are owners that have arrogated them to themselves, the leaders of political parties and the rest. They determine what happened, who get what. Somebody can sit down in his own office and determine across length and breadth of the country who are the councillors, who are the local government chairman, who will be governorship candidates and senators and the rest. So we can't take this to be political parties. However, with even what they have shown at us, let us operate within that. So you don't seem to see anything working. All they are after is how they can scoop the people, how they can further their interest. So it's really they are not formed because of the interest of the people. So
let me come to you now on this. Earlier we were talking, and we were talking about how INEC is probably like overwhelmed with this and needs help. And you just made mention to some NGOs and CSOs actually coming in to try and make things easy for INEC as it is right now. Do you think it's too much of a burden for INEC, and are they receiving the required support that they need to actually make this thing work?
No, I don't think so. Over the years, we have seen that INEC has issues of capacity, and they have been making effort. That's why you saw the former chairman brought in professors as returning officers, brought in the core members as POs and APOs and what have you. And just as a follow-up, there is nothing INEC can do to have a complete cleanup of the register. We know this because INEC does not know who has died or not in the code, because we don't have that kind of system that gets death register and all that into the. So you can clean up by harmonizing new registrants with the old data or maybe updated information from people, but you can never have a clean-up register that have removed all the people who have died maybe from 4 years ago till now. But again, I'm worried that in an era of technology, we are not having the kind of integrated system that is able to give INEC the empowerment to multitask. For instance, before you vote, you are accredited. So we're able to know the number of accredited voters. But right now, INEC cannot even predict the number of Nigerians that wants to register. Because if there is a system for people to indicate interest that they would like to register, then you have to give those people the assurance that even if there is a deadline that though, because you have indicated interest, we will have a system that will allow you to complete that process. Because if you're in the line, for instance, to vote by 2:30, you know, no matter what happens, you will still be allowed to vote. So we need INEC to have a daily brief. First of all, how many machines do they have? And what is the capacity of those machines to capture Nigerians who want to register? These machines, if we know the number, we know the manpower and the capacity of the machine, what is their productive capacity per day? How much man-hour is put per day? When these statistics are in place, you are able to plan. For instance, in the National Assembly, you have immigration office there. You know, you have NIN office there, but you do not have INEC registration center. And across many other public institutions that are secured, where you can easily do these things. Across the banks, the bank workers, we know, they cannot even leave their cubicle in a day. So when are they going to register? You know, so what if we deploy these things in the banks? So INEC need to engage a broader stakeholder, spectrum of stakeholder that is just beyond the CSOs who have thematic area within their work and all that. They should come out from where they are and launch into you have the traditional rulers, you know, in the communities. You have churches. You don't need the churches to come and apply. Take these things to them. And if you have challenge in terms of capacity and equipment, you have to talk. This is not about performance of government. INEC is a specialized institution, not housed under any ministry, because of the sensitive work they do. And they have to speak out to Nigerians, to National Assembly to intervene on what they need to do. And I agree with my brothers that there is no way election is to punish or reward the elected officials. When you make a system that does not allow the people to exercise that franchise, we have a challenge. So the excuse about attitude of Nigerians, they are there. But we know more and have to deploy. And when we have done all this and satisfy our conscience, nobody can blame us, you know, for not doing what we are supposed to do as a people.
All right. My next question is to Mr. Sumaila. Mr. Sumaila, there's a trend that's this time that's a bit different from what we noticed in the past. And the Daily Trust newspaper today says, 2023, North lags behind as voter registration ends in 4 days. Now, in the past election, the Northwest always had the highest number of voters, registered voters. After that, we had the Southwest, and then we had the North Central. This time around, even when you see the excitement or the rush in other parts of the country, we don't see a lot of that in the North. What changed? Why is this happening this time around?
Oh, okay, we observed that from the CNG, and then we decided to hold some programs to sensitize the people, which Katsina State was our pilot program for that particular drive. And then we had a town hall meeting in Katsina, and then the testimonies coming out from there is actually appalling. It's heartbreaking as well, because people have felt, especially this particular government, they felt, look, we were not lured with money to vote for Mr. President. We thought we have done everything humanly possible to have a good governance, to enjoy what it is, to belong to a country, you know, as a citizens. We felt we have voted for people who will actually take care of our pains, you know, listen to us and actually know what we're passing through. And then all of a sudden, for the first time, that we never opted for money, we voted for them, and then our lives have never been this upside down like we're having right now, especially in terms of insecurity. So the heartbreak is actually something else. People felt, please. And then some persons came, because it was a town hall meeting that was largely, you know, attended by stakeholders. I saw some clergies were of the opinion that, look, we have tried the good people. Some of us felt, let's try the bad ones this time around. So as for some people who felt, well, I would rather just stay back rather than even try any other person. So why should I be wasting my time going to go and get any PVC? As far as they're concerned, it's all balderdash. It's not working. You understand? Because when people feel, I mean, we voted for someone who belongs to us, who we felt he has all the credentials in the world to actually do the right thing for the masses. And then right before them, their wives have been raped, their children have been slaughtered, you know, and they are helpless. And the people who should help them are also looking the other way. So the heartbreak
is it a case of disappointment, a case of disenchantment?
Exactly, that's the point. We also held a walk in Mina. The same stories, you know. So really, you need to now begin to harmonize.
How do you harmonize? It's 4 days to the deadline. How do you? How much can you get done?
Well, we've tried to do what we can actually from our own path, and we're hoping that some other NGOs are also, or we also do the little they can at that state level, you know. But of course, the timing is so short, you understand. And like Dr. Zig rightly pointed out, I think INEC need to, admit failure on their part. You see, it's just like a typical Nigerian problem. There's no planning anywhere. It's just like a story of a child who, they said the town was praying for rain. And then they went to a prayer ground, and it was only a child that went there with umbrella. And they were asking, you know, why? He said, I thought we believe it's going to rain if we pray. You understand? So if INEC is actually saying, oh, we've done everything, our publicity is, the budget is so billion, we're involving NGOs, and you don't believe people are going to come out to register? So what are you talking about? You're not planning for the people. There should be a projection to say, if we have this level of publicity, then we expect number.
INEC is saying that it's been doing this exercise for the past 1 year.
It doesn't matter, because if you have a projection, you should have it in place. The complaint should have been that we have this number of registration centers and there's low turnout. People are not coming out. Then we give kudos to them and say, look at it, the registration centers are empty. Nobody wants to register. But you now have a shortage of the registration centers. So what are we talking about? Is planning. You are lacking in that regard. Because if you have put so much energy in publicity and you're not planning to match the publicity, then you have failed. That's the truth of the issue. So, but you know, I haven't said all the, I mentioned in the north, basically, you know, there's more to be done, because I saw, especially Kano, Lagos is even topping Kano, you know, that's an aberration. So if INEC will actually say, look, well, we think at this stage there's a need to allow more people to express or to make their voices heard.
Because some persons have said that the reason that some people are not even able to register in some parts of the north is because of insecurity. They have had to move from one point to the other, and so they've not been able to be stable enough to register.
It's still part of planning. I thought all this would be considered. What are we talking about? It's like we're going into 2023 and some people are saying, oh, well, our people cannot get this done. We can't get to social community. They can't get to social local government. This all should have been factored into it and be announcing it earlier on, that because of insecurity in social place, where, you know, begging the people of this community and that community that their registration center will be in social place, and we're going to provide logistics, for instance. There's nothing wrong with INEC having a bus in those kind of areas where you feel, because these are part of the responsibility of a government. You disenfranchise me if you say I'm the one that needs to provide for all this. He also mentioned how they need to send vehicles to go and pick INEC officials. What are we? Look, we should be serious for once. You know, because if we keep putting money, putting effort, and we are not making provisions commensurate with that kind of effort, it's a waste of money in the long run.
All right, so Dr. Zikrillah, let me bring you into this. We seem to be in agreement right here in the studio that there is a lack of foresight, a lack of planning, adequate planning when it comes to logistics and talking about the number of people that ought to be registered and having those things in place to do that, that there's a lack of that on the part of INEC. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree absolutely that we like planning as far as things are done in this country. You see, we may excuse INEC headquarters Because when you get to, anytime you get to INEC headquarters, you will see behave of activities. Everybody is doing what to make things work. But I can tell you that cannot be said about the states or at the level of local government. Except the election is very close, it's as if nothing is going on at the level of local government. Even the headquarters at the state offices, you just find few people, they work like civil servants, actually. So it is only the headquarters, almost everything are done at the headquarters. Then you now see at the last moment, to send reinforcement to see that there are damage control everywhere. And I don't think this is how an institution should work. If the headquarters are doing their bit, the states are doing their own, and the local government, I don't think we should have these gaps that we are experiencing now. Having said that, I will also say that it's like the work is left for INEC to do alone. That, like the issue of mobilization. What is National Orientation Agency doing? So it's one agency that is more or less moribund. Nothing is working there. And of course, it is meant to be so, because go and check their budget. In the last 15, 20 years, it's not even up to a budget that you can use to run agency like that in a state, which is given to nationally. And so it's like the agency is even programmed to fail. It's not to deliver.
All right, Dr. Zik.
So,
all right. All right, Dr. Zik, due to lack of time, in just 1 minute, what do you want INEC to do within, between now and the next 3 days?
Well, I will ask INEC to extend the deadline and allow people that are eligible to register. And if they have to shift the date of election, so be it. But it is important that every Nigerian that is qualified to register, that is eligible, is allowed to register, so that he or she will be able to perform their civic responsibility. Thank you.
On a final note as well, he just made mention that INEC should do whatever it takes to make sure that everybody that is eligible to register gets registered. Samuela pointed out earlier that it's actually impossible to get people to, everybody that is eligible to register, to actually register. So where do you stand on that?
Well, mine is we have about 178,000 polling units. Why shouldn't we deploy? That is where we're going to vote. Let's go there and register people. Kaduna State government just pronounced 3-day holiday to get people to go and register, because shifting election day, there are constitutional limitations, so we can't even, go there. But again, I think INEC should take this time out, suspend the process, do whatever inside work they want to do, and relaunch it, in the next 1 month or so. And this time, if the resources are there, deploy to the polling unit, deploy to specialized areas, banks, institutions, of government, schools, and what have you, and get people, to register. And that is doable if the money is there. And I agree with Doc that at the local government level, I can tell you that some INEC offices there are taken over by grasses and what have you. Nothing, there's no, if you look at the structure, you will know that nothing can happen there. And we need to change all this. Everything can't just be centralized, and we expect to get results now.
All right, Sumaila, your final notes on this.
Okay, my final take will be that INEC should look for a way to extend this, because 3 days is not enough. He pointed out Kaduna, Lagos also yesterday is given a 4-day public holiday so that people can actually go and get their PVCs. And if this can be replicated across the country, there's nothing wrong with that. If we can actually have a public holiday on the day of election, why can't we have public holiday for people to get registered? There are a lot of people that no matter what they try to do, in terms of registration, it's absolutely impossible for them because of the nature of their job. So, but if you give public holidays, people will take it more serious, that there's no movement. All this, what this is for registration. I think that will go a long way in helping the system to achieve its goal.
All right. Well, we do hope at the end of the day the majority of people, or most of the people that are actually eligible to register and vote, get to register and vote. And we hope INEC will take the necessary steps to make sure that happens. Well, that's the much we can take on Daybreak this morning. Before we go, I'd like to thank our guest, Dr. Ibrahim Zikirullah, who joined us from Kano. Thank you very much for being on the show this morning. Sumaila Musa, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And of course, Chibuzo Okereke, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. All right, so that's a wrap on Daybreak this morning. Why don't we do this all again tomorrow? If you had a great time being with us as we enjoyed bringing it to you. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.
Thank you for spending this part of your morning with us. Do well to join us same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji, and do have a pleasant day.